I always feel NBA draft, there's about 4 impactful players over the course of a draft that will make an impact in the playoffs, like Wiggins did last year with the Warriors or Gordon this year. So we're both going to admit Victor Wembanyama is number 1, right?
Yes, that's obvious. Yes.
That's obvious. So I was thinking about that. He threw out the first pitch, Mariners-Yankees game, and thank God he's not playing baseball. It was very, very ugly. He is in a very, very, very rare class. How rare? I went back to 1979, and in my opinion, Victor Wembanyama will be the 10th, not only consensus number 1, but no red flags. Yes, he's thin. That's what they said about Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis didn't have any red flags, wasn't much of a talker, but people liked him, but he was thin. Yeah, guys 6'11" and up are thin at 19 years old. A.D., Dwight Howard, LeBron, Duncan, Shaq, David Robinson, Ewing, Hakeem, and Magic, 1979. No red flags. 10 players, 44 years. And I'm not talking just consensus number 1. When John Wall came out, he couldn't shoot. He's a guard. And he was out of control. Which, by the way, in his NBA career, a lot of turnovers, a lot of points, never really elevated teammates, couldn't shoot. He was a consensus 1. So was Ben Simmons. But Ben couldn't make the tournament. He was aloof. People didn't necessarily like him. He couldn't shoot. Both were great prospects, but I'm talking no red flags. Being thin for a big guy is not a red flag. Anthony Davis had a smaller than waist for a big guy, but he put on weight pretty quickly. 10 for 10, what do they have in common? They're all big men. Centers, forwards, and Magic. Magic's the biggest point guard for until recently ever, 6'8.5". He was a historically huge point guard. When in doubt in the draft, go size. Denver just won the championship. We know Jokic is great. What was your takeaway? Man, they're big. The Bucks a couple years ago, damn, they're big. That Raptors team, underdog beat the Warriors. Big, long. Laker team in the bubble. Big. Length, big. Paolo Banchero, number 1 pick in last year's draft. You see him play for Orlando? 6'10", 250. That kid is scoring points. He's just bulling over people. So my guess is, if I was some NBA GM, Victor Wembanyama is your number 1, but I would probably take Brandon Miller over Scoot Henderson, knowing Scoot Henderson will sell more tickets, more athletic, more fun, more electrifying. But Brandon Miller's long, he's skilled, got a big frame, he runs the court really well. He's a big man. I've seen small dynamic guys my whole life, even the ones I love, Steph Curry. He got hurt early, he's hurt now. John Morant, banged up, hurt. Derrick Rose, John Wall, Markelle Fultz. So when you watch the NBA playoffs, the takeaway isn't always who has the best player. Jokic was, but that's not who necessarily wins. It's not the most stars. Brooklyn had those a couple years ago. It's not. It is, I know we all loved small ball, but by and large in this league, Steph Curry's an exception who led his team to multiple titles. When were the Warriors at their best? When they got Kevin Durant, 6'11". Go size. The only 10 since 1979. Not only consensus number 1s, they don't really have any red flags at all. If you're a guard and can't shoot, that's a red flag. If you're a ball handler, out of control, turnovers, that's a red flag and can't shoot. Or you're aloof. People don't like you, can't shoot. Those are issues. Victor Wembanyama's one of the 10. But I saw this morning. Now, for our radio audience, this is hard to describe. But for our TV audience, I'm going to put it up. I saw this on the interweb this morning. It's 4 rows, 8 across. Since 2000, 23 years, the most playoff wins in the NFL. So for our radio audience, the first row is New England almost has double everybody else, 30, Brady Belichick. But after that, it's recognizable, well-run organizations. Philadelphia 16, Ravens 16, Steelers 15, Packers 14. Then all of a sudden you can see the Colts. A lot of that's Peyton Manning. The Chiefs at 12. That's Patrick Mahomes. Then you get to the second group, and there's some really good Giants with Eli Manning, Niners in that. The bottom row is who you'd expect: Raiders, Lions, Cleveland, Jags, Washington with 1. But look where the Cowboys are. 4. That's with Tony Romo and Dak, B-plus quarterbacks. That's as the richest franchise in the league. That's with, over the last 5 or 6 years, the weaker conference. 4 playoff wins in 23 years. That's half of the Carolina Panthers. That's 2 fewer than the Jets, who've been terrible for over a decade. That's a win less than Arizona, who players will tell you the worst run league in the team in the league. In fact, forget 2000. You have to go back another 4 years before that to find Dallas's 5th playoff win. So it's 5 in like 27 years. Blake Bortles since 2000 has the same number of playoff wins as Dak. In life, you are what your priorities are. You want to be the best parent? Probably what you are. Want to be the richest guy? Probably making a good living. But the Cowboys' priority: branding, money, marketing, business, Jerry, dollars. And they have made a fortune. Their practice facilities are remarkable. Jerry's world is remarkable. His yacht is unbelievable. New England leads this chart. What were the sayings in New England during the dynasty? Do your job, no days off. That was their priority. Winning. No luxury. Wasn't about branding. Wasn't about marketing. Brady didn't do a commercial of note for 10 years. Do your job. No days off. I know. It's that whole toxic willfulness that people talk about. It works. So I say this every year with the Dallas Cowboys, and I'll say it again. They'll be pretty good. 6 or 7 really good players, maybe 1 star. That's what they've been for the last 25 years. 6 or 7 pretty good players, 1 star. Now it's Micah. Micah's their big star. But not a legitimate Super Bowl contender. There are 3 guarantees in the last 25 years of my life: death, taxes, and the Cowboys being overvalued. 4 playoff wins. Put that chart up again. Isn't that unbelievable? They are in the class. They're not slightly above it. They're in the class of what we view as the worst run franchise in the league for the last 20 years. The Texans, the Raiders, Washington, Cleveland, and Detroit. It's in the same group. Arizona. Until Burrow, Cincinnati. They're in the same class. That's what they are. With Romo and Dak, with the best funding, with the biggest brand, in a state with no income tax, highly attractive to free agents. Middle of the country. Big brand. On Fox. 4 playoff wins. 23 years. Got to go back 4 more years to get the 5th. J-Mac, and you think I'm hard on the New York Jets. Your Jets have 2 more wins.
Yeah, I probably should be sending Mark Sanchez a text right now. He alone has 4 playoff wins as a Jets quarterback. And all were on the road. I remember all of them fondly. Listen, this is staggering. And if you look at that list, 3 of the top 4 teams are in the AFC. So it's tough to even make an argument that, well, the NFC's been loaded. Dallas has struggled in the postseason. No, they've been pretty bad, pretty rotten. Here it is, yeah. So Patriots, Ravens, Steelers.
Yeah, and whether or not we all love the coach or whatever, those we view as well-run franchises. I would say there's 8 per row. The Hunt family, Paul Allen, Packers, Rooney's, Ravens, Bob Kraft, Jed York. Most of those in the front row we look at. Not all of them have had great quarterbacks. Philadelphia. Yeah. Some have had great quarterbacks and no owner. Green Bay. Some are more known for defense than offense. Steelers.
Yeah.
But, I mean, what you see in that front row is generally well-run operations.
Yeah.
That's one constant.
From the top down.
Yeah.
Owner matters. And if I could take a dig at a team I don't like, is that the Miami Dolphins with one playoff win this century? The Miami Dolphins. With that owner, Stephen Ross, who gets in trouble,
well,
they have never been able to rebound from losing Dan Marino. They just haven't.
Yeah, and the other thing about Miami's interesting is a lot of times they're like close to 500. They've rarely been awful, but they've had so many coaching moves and so much chaos. And if you look at the bottom, the one thing you'd say about Stephen Ross, he's not been a great owner.
Has not. Now, Miami's supposed to be this free agent destination.
Oh,
Sunny,
they've landed some good players.
Oh, really? One playoff win this century?
I know.